Let's move to the Tigers now. Brendan Gale came on this show, the Monday night edition, some years back now when the Tigers were on 6 on the premiership clock. Have they come full circle? Look at this.
We're not here just to compete. No one is. And we've got a vision to compete and to be the best. The best on the field, the best off the field. I make no apologies for the fact we want to be the best football club.
The Tigers are going to win the premiership in 2017. The Tigers have got home for the first time in 37 years. The Tigers are premiers for the 12th time in their history. The champions have been able to do what only the toughest and strongest can do in 2020. The Tigers again.
Well, we're here this morning to announce that Damien Hardwick has resigned as the club's senior coach, effective immediately.
Time for a different voice. You know, I've pushed every button I can. I've tried to cook the sausages 1,000 different ways and I couldn't find 1,001.
We just bailed last year. He was 18 months into a 3-year contract extension, just took off. We now know that Brendan Gale is going to do what had long been mooted, that be the head of the Tasmanian licence. The exit of Brendan Gale is the biggest worry.
This is serious punishment for the men from Punro.
Coming from a Richmond point of view, I don't think there's been a grimmer night for a while for the Tigers.
All right, yeah, Saturday night was not very pretty at all at the MCG. Damien, you've written a story today saying that you reckon Brendan Gale should go now.
I have, Ed, and look, I need to say from the very top that I still put him as number one architect of that success we just had a look at there. But there comes a time, Ed, and we've seen people at this footy club have a crack at being Geelong and Sydney, but ultimately go down the Hawthorn and Brisbane path, and that is not able to succeed and sustain success. And my argument is, Ed, he's checked out. I mean, he's admitted that he spoke to John O'Rourke, the new president, last year about this. He's going to be staying by way of his plan until the end of this year, start at Tasmania next year. But I just strongly argue, and this is not personal on Brendan, but when you have made that decision, your mind is elsewhere. He will be dealing with the Tasmanian issue with people coming to him anyway. And equally, the decisions he will make with deep down in his heart, in his own mind, they will be the right decisions for the club, but they may not align with the next person who takes over in that position. OK, let's hear from Brendan Gale.
There's probably some decisions that probably make sense to back away from a little bit and others step up and lean into. And there's certainly no issue of compromise. I mean, the Tasmanian Football Club, well, it's more than an idea. Clearly, it's been established, but it's still subject to conditions. It's off into the ether. You know, it's not like I'm leaving Coles to join Woolies. You know, I don't think my judgment, my application isn't compromised one bit. I don't think there's any detriment in staying, and moreover, I don't think there's any benefit in leaving right now. So, still plenty of work to do.
All right, let's discuss. I think the opposite. I think that a vacuum that is there would become a black hole if he was to go tomorrow. I think John O'Rourke is a very successful businessman. As a president, this is his time to set it up. We don't know who
John O'Rourke is, Ed, in a footy sense. I couldn't tell you what John O'Rourke looked like in a footy sense.
Well, he was there a second ago. But,
but he doesn't speak publicly. And he's taken over from Peggy O'Neill, who has also left. And again, all these times are up, and they did all they could. Damien Hardwick, he left with 18 months of a contract to run. I think that the start of the Richmond next phase is now, not at the end of the year.
Yeah, but I think what you don't want to do is throw the baby out the bathwater. I think Brendan Gale can actually walk and chew gum at the same time. I do know John O'Rourke. I've known him since I was 15. And he is a quiet type. But, gee, I tell you what, he's a titan behind the scenes. And I just think that at the moment, this year is done as far as football's concerned. And we're going to get to what they could do to quickly rebuild their club in a second. But I just think find the right person. Don't just leave the whole thing and don't make it look like everyone's
He's
jumped
about to be
off the
working
ship.
actively against Richmond hard. And I know he's
going to set up
taking
a team.
phone calls from the AFL now.
He's going to set up a team that's not going to be in for another 5-6 years.
But what's unusual...
He can do it. If there's one bloke in the AFL who can do it, it's Brendan Gale, I think.
Yeah, but what's unusual about all that, and you used to hear Frank Costa talk about it, you don't want all the pillars going at once.
No.
And that's what's happened. So there would be a little bit of element of let's get some of those other people in place in those positions that are left before I step away. But Lloydie, you're looking on field as far as leadership vacuum, and obviously we've had the dual captaincy. Now it's one captain with Nankervis. Do you stick with Nankervis driving forward with this new phase, or do you look for somebody else?
I think that the time's come for a new captain, Jimmy. With the way Toby's going with his football, often gives away a lot of free kicks and things like that. But The sad part for Richmond at the moment, and I understand this, when you win 3 flags, I can understand how this could happen at a time because you don't get good young draft picks in, so you take the 3 flags every day of the week to deal with what they're dealing with. But
their injuries,
and their injury
out of control
as well.
at the moment as
but
well.
I feel like Liam Baker is the obvious, but you don't give the obvious to a player who's thinking of leaving. But after that, I couldn't name a player.
So if he committed, you give him the captaincy,
I think he's the next best fit
So,
for them. Yeah.
OK. And what about, though, if you did a trade and you used him? I mean, they've got to probably let a couple go. Yeah. Who do you keep and who goes?
That's where I feel like they're 1 win and 8 losses. It's the worst. I've been in situations where our season's been shot at this point. This is their current draft hand. That's not good enough for how bad they are going and how long it's going to be before Tasmania come in soon. They need to strike now and they need to get as many picks inside the top 30 as possible. So who do we flag, Jimmy?
Yeah, so if it's Baker, is it Rioli who, he claimed he wasn't talking to Damien Hardwick regarding Gold Coast? Is it Graham heading back to South Australia, which has been spoken about? But I'm with you, though. You want to get this strike now with the draft because you want to get 50 to 60 games under the belt before Tassie comes in. But then you throw in the likes, Taranto and Hopper in there for the long run. Vlosten will be the senior experienced player. Bolter, Gibcus, hopefully we get to see.
So what about Tom Lynch, who's had injuries but would look very, very attractive wearing a Collingwood or a Melbourne jumper while they're in that premiership window?
Yeah, so I think that...
And you get how much off the salary cap?
Yeah, we look at North Melbourne and what you've got to be careful of is not getting rid of your senior players. You need to keep the right ones, but I just wonder whether freeing up $1 million from Tom Lynch, or a club would pay a fair portion of it, it might be a win-win. So I'd be eyeballing, if I was Adam Uzo, every senior player and say, are you in for us or do you want out? And you can see the ones who want to be in for the long haul and others who go, you know what, my only reason for playing now is a premiership. And if Tom Lynch is one that it's a bit wobbly, he could be one to go.
There's a decision that has to be made about Dustin Martin too, Lord. I ask you and you, Jimmy, as the footy experts on this panel, would you keep him? And again, I raise this in the context of Brendan Gale wanting and already on record saying he wants to keep him. That may not align with the next CEO who wants to see where this club is going to be.
He's one that I'm looking in the eye and say, Dusty, how bad do you want this? Do you want to be playing in a bottom 4 side next year or not? And if you aren't willing and up for that fight, we'd prefer to move you on.
I suppose the question to Dusty is, do you want to play 300 games or 330 games and make that decision? But, gee, I tell you what, you wouldn't want to be getting rid of... If he's committed to play 330, which means, the next 2 seasons, you get him and stamp him.
Well, if he wants to stay...
Carry us forward, mate.
If he wants to stay, 30, 40... plus goal kicks are hard to find, and that's back to Tom Lynch. Even if he's committed and his body's right, you don't want to get down the path and go, you know what we're looking for? Key forward.
So
we just
have
one.
Forward,